Hello and welcome to the Connection Couch. My name is Reg and
I am Jo Saunders. And today we've got a special guest. We've got Jacqui Maloney, who's going to be sharing lots of tips about being more confident on camera.
thanks for sticking around. Excellent. Okay, so as mentioned, drum roll please.
Yes.
Jacqui Maloney. Thanks for joining us, Jacqui. Appreciate it.
Thank you both for having me.
Oh, pleasure is ours. Pleasure is ours. Jo, did you want to just crack on with the first question?
I do, but before I do that, I'm just going to quickly introduce Jacqui. So who is Jacqui? Why is she talking about confidence on camera? Well, she is a confidence coach. She is an actress for over the last decade. You do lots of TV commercials and different TV shows you've been in. And I know that you do a lot of work with building confidence on camera. So we're going to delve into some of that. So, yes. So let's get into the first question, which I'm just going to... So, Jacqui, what do you find when you're working with clients, or even yourself when you got started? What do you find is the main obstacle in terms of getting on camera?
Great question. I think there's probably three major points for people sort of freaking out when they first start being on camera. And the first thing I think about I just like to think of it as a new skill. Okay, so every time I've ever learnt to do something, those very beginning times of doing anything, I've really just freaked out, and I think it's just that fear of the unknown. And I think being on camera we think about it as just another thing that we need to conquer. It makes it a little bit different in terms of being able to tackle it. So starting a new business for me personally, I've had to learn how to do so many things on my own, and I can sit there for hours and try and nut around doing a Canva, design, or trying to do my own website, or trying to do my own tax return or things like that. And it's a skill that I need to learn how to do. So I think for people learning how to be more confident on camera is that before they even start, it freaks them out because they don't know what to say, they don't know where to look, they don't really know the type of content or conversations to have. So I think that's probably the first thing that I come across with my clients. The second thing is, actually just starting and just having, a point of difference or something to talk about with their customers or their audience. And so a lot of the time that I spend with my clients is actually just brainstorming topics of conversations to have. And I guess from my acting background, and I know, Jo, this is something that you touched on before as well, and storytelling is just so important. And so we don't really need to freak out about what to say, as long as we sort of come back to the story and why we are in business and why we're doing things and sort of a bit of our processes and all the stuff that we already know, and then just sort of like finding it down into a nice compact video where we're getting to the point and we're not waffling on, because then that's the other big thing that I see is people just stick a camera in front of their face and they waffle.
No, we don't do that at all, do we, Rach?
No, they don't do that at all. But they do. It's just, they kind of just press record and just freak themselves out, and they look like a deer in headlights, and then they just start talking about anything and everything. And so it doesn't have to be that hard. So I spend a lot of time just sort of really breaking it down, and something that they could have waffled on for 5 minutes, we could have made 5 different videos out of, and then that could have lasted them the month. So when we sort of change all of that, mentality behind it, it really starts to calm people down immediately. So I find that works really, really well.
Awesome. Okay, so what, for someone who's actually really struggling to take that jump, so to speak, and be on camera, so what techniques, without giving too much away, what's their inner, like from an actor's point of view, what's their inner monologue? How do they get over that obstacle?
Yeah, sure. I like to think of it, so I'm always going to sort of refer to questions from an acting perspective. When you go and see a theatre show, if you go down to the State Theatre, the Heath Ledger Theatre, and you go and see a piece of live performance, right? For the most part, actors have been rehearsing for 8 weeks before you see them on stage, okay? All of that prep time is where they get to really hone in on their character, they get to do stage and do all the lights and the sound, and they get to do their rehearsal. So when you see it as a polished production, right? But there is so much that goes on in the background. So taking that as an example, what I'd like to teach my clients is that apply the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of whatever you want to do on video should be done in the preparation time before you even press record. So, making sure you have a clear idea of what you want to talk about in your video. Get yourself some dot points. I don't want to see scripts. Scripts are the death of people trying to build their confidence because they're so concerned with being word for word perfect. And, Joe, we were talking about this just before. When you stutter on a word, it just throws your confidence and, your nerves come back up again. So just make it so simple for yourself. I get my clients to walk around the house and do a load of washing, make the bed, do normal things that they already can do without even thinking about it, and start getting those words in their mouth so that it's natural to them when they're saying it on camera. So the first time you're saying these words and you're trying to educate or entertain or share a story, it's not the first time that, the audience is hearing it as well, because it's just going to come across more naturally. So, already for today, I've got my notes of what I wanted to talk about with the questions that you gave me. I've already rehearsed. I've already, taken the dishes out of the dishwasher, doing the exact same thing.
Love it.
Yeah, well, we have to, because it normalizes things, and I think that's what freaks people out. Is it's such an abnormal thing to talk to camera, and it doesn't need to be. So a lot of the work is in the prep time. And what this prep time also does is gets rid of those dreaded ums and ahs. Okay, I've already said these words a few times. I already know exactly or sort of what I want to answer the questions that you guys might have for me. And, I can kind of go off of that and just feel really comfortable like we're having a conversation, which any good video should really look like. So that's probably the biggest thing that I can say is get yourself prepped and organised. Rehearse until it just comes naturally to you, so that when you do press record, nothing should actually change or be any different to what you've already done in the half an hour beforehand. The other big tip that I will give you is that a lot of people freak themselves out because they can't stand seeing the side of themselves on camera. My trick is these, guys. A good old-fashioned Post-it note, and you put it over your phone. So frame yourself up, know that your head is in the right place, and then you do not look at yourself for the entire video. Because so many times I see people like doing their hair and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, that's not what I need to watch you for. But then it just takes people out of going, oh I look horrendous, or I haven't put enough makeup on, or, people can see my acne, or whatever it is. So Post-it notes are a godsend for people who feel really uncomfortable watching themselves on camera.
Plus, they're actually likely to look at themselves, particularly if you're filming on a phone. Because you see this a lot. They're not looking into the camera, they're looking at themselves. I mean, they're actually looking at the screen. Because you think that's the audience, but it's not, and you're more than focused, I suppose.
Yeah, because, also, my lens for my camera is up in this top right-hand corner, but for the most part, everyone looks here. And sometimes you don't really notice that that's happening, but for a trained eye, and anyway, it's just something that I pick up a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Zoom meeting. Right now, I'm not looking at myself. I'm looking at, when you're having a conversation in Zoom, you're looking at the person, but the person is on screen, but the camera's up there, and it's really weird because then you're disassociating yourself with the person. So I guess when you're doing video, sometimes you've got to think beyond who is the actual audience and who you're trying to connect to. Is it a conversation with a person, or is it actually a conversation with many people? But you've got to connect, I suppose, to the individual, don't you, by looking at them and not looking off to the side.
I think that's something a lot of people are going to get used to, especially with the Zoom calls, is, as you mentioned, is that right now I'm looking at the camera, I'm using my webcam, but if I wanted to look at the screen, now I'm looking at the screen, I can see everybody. So this is, what I mean? That's the difference. So people have got to get used to not looking at the screen and looking at the little dot or the light or whatever it is. And it may feel weird, but that eye contact is very important. I'm sure you'd agree, Jacqui.
Oh, absolutely. And I think just like you guys have just sort of triggered another response or another thing that I want people to think about is do only talk to one person when you do videos. Always, always, always. Just, I like to think of it, if someone came into your store, you wouldn't be sort of talking at everyone all at once to tell them about the features of whatever you're trying to sell them or how that can solve a particular pain point. So, even if you have a magazine cutout or something, or, you know, you've given your ideal client a face, you know, you've done all the work, you know what they like and where they shop and what they do and all those demographics. We've done all that for our ideal customer. So just talk to them as well. You know, some of my clients, I get them to, you know, print out a photo from Facebook if they do actually have a physical person that they have as their ideal client. And so just talk to them, because otherwise we get into this sort of this presenting, or, you know, we're trying to talk to everybody, whereas we want our audience to feel special and we want them to feel like we're talking to them to solve their problems or to make them laugh or to give them a break from their day because they've been stressed out or whatever. So, yeah, when you start thinking about talking to your best friend or to your mum or to your ideal client that you may have served just last week in the shop, when we start angling our videos in terms of that, they just pop so much better. They're just so much more authentic and natural and warm and kind, and you get to show your personality a lot better.
I love that tip, and that's something I don't know if I got it from someone or if I just decided to do it naturally. So a girlfriend and I, this is years ago, we were doing a collaborative project together, and we were both so nervous and uncomfortable doing video. And we got a photo of a mutual friend of ours and stuck it on the camera, and we just decided to talk to her. Because then suddenly it was just a conversation with three friends. Yeah, and you're right, it just changed the energy and it made it much more personal, so that even though we were talking to a friend, the person behind the camera seeing us would, I guess, feel that we were talking to them, hopefully. And we felt comfortable. And you can see that, can't you? You can see people who are so nervous, and then they say things like, oh, I'm really nervous about this. And I guess once you put a voice to it as well and own it, you've almost then embraced it even further, I think.
Of course. You've also just put that idea into your audience's mind. She's like, oh, you know, she just said she's waffling, and actually I just watched 3 minutes of a video and she did waffle. So maybe if she's disregarded kind of what she said, then maybe I'm going to be more inclined to do that too, just because, like you said, they have voiced what they're going through. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what language can really do.
Now that leads to our next question about inner voice, because there's a lot of things you can tell yourself, and you've covered a few already about, you know, how do you look and how do you sound and all those sorts of things. And you've got to get out of your own way and just, you know, you can't be focusing on what your voice sounds like, because we never like our recorded voice. I mean, I remember when I first used an answer machine many, many years ago. It was horrible.
Did you have a telephone voice, Jo?
Hideous. So how do you help guide your clients, or for yourself? How do you find that inner voice that you want to then share on video?
Well, I guess it comes back to the conversation we sort of had just prior to this, before jumping on, and I was on set one day, and I'd gone through the process, and I'd auditioned, and I booked the job, and we were on set, and we were all ready to go. And, you know, you really do have those times where it's imposter syndrome just coming in, hitting you hard. Why am I here? What am I doing? You know, people are going to judge me for doing this. I don't look right, you know, this and that. And at the end of the day, I think it is very similar to, like, and I'll keep coming back to this sort of, you know, idea that people come into your physical store for you or for what you're selling, and then you need to take comfort in that. Like, you have followers on Instagram, and I hope for the most part they're genuine followers because they need your business, or they need your guidance, or they need to be educated by you or enlightened by you. And so I really want people to take into consideration that there are people actually there searching for someone like you to solve a whole myriad of problems. Okay, think of your best friend coming to you to give them advice, and if you start getting nervous and saying, oh, I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do, well, then your best friend's sort of like sitting there just going, okay, well, now I'm no better off from coming to you or not. So take pride in the fact that, you know, you have an audience of people reaching out to you for a reason. And if we don't show up for them, then they're only going to go somewhere else to do it, or they're just going to sit there just going, well, what do I do next? So there is a part of us just as humans to want to help. And I just think that if we take out the whole, what do I look like? What do I sound like? People are going to judge me. And how can I serve? And make sure that is at the forefront of your video. I think that's probably the best way to sort of calm that inner mind, you know, the ego coming through, the I'm not good enough coming through. Everyone has something to offer, and as long as you stay true to yourself, and that's really all that matters. And if you screw up and if you swear and if you do whatever, then that's part of you, and we either love it or hate it. So can't please everybody.
True. It's true. I do have one question before we wrap it up, but and this is not on our list, Jo, so I'm going a bit rogue here.
Rogue.
Yeah, but
I'm not prepared. No, I'm joking.
no, you'll be fine. No, I'm just after the people that come to see you. They obviously want to do video. They want to be better at video. Do you have any sort of inclinations to why they want to get into video? What sort of benefits do they think that video is going to bring to their business or their personal brand?
Really good question. And I think COVID is the honest answer to all of that, because for a lot of people, they had to get online, and it was almost overnight. I remember being at a networking event a few weeks ago, and there was a young girl on there, and she was a PT. So her business revolved around training people in person. And, you know, when that stopped and when the government enforced that, and literally overnight, you know, she actually said, I thought I was going to have an extra 2 weeks to get online and, you know, get all my workouts and do all that kind of stuff. Literally overnight, they just said, look, no more outdoor training, no more gyms, no more nothing like that. And so she had to switch. Pivot is the word that everyone's using.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest reason why a lot more people are online now. And, you know, if it means that I can jump on my phone at any hour of the day and say, you know, to my audience, I hope everyone's having a great day, happy Monday or happy Friday, go have a drink, go have a glass of wine. We're able to really bridge that gap between, you know, audience or customer and then the business or the person, and get them closer together. And I think that's been really, really important. And businesses have saved themselves during COVID purely because of their online presence now and how they're showing up on social media. So those are the ones that kept pushing through COVID on their socials, just saying, we're here with you, you know, we're struggling, you're struggling, we get it, we understand, what can we do to help, we've got this, we've got that, you know, we're reopening in a couple of weeks, can't wait to have you back in the shop or whatever. Those are the ones that have continued and have grown their business just purely because of that connection. So I think that's been the most important thing for video. You can see all the stats and bits and pieces about video is increasing by stupid amounts of percent in terms of how we consume media now. But I think the connection thing is probably the most important part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely COVID's had a massive impact on video. And as you said, it was literally just overnight. You know, Zoom is the norm now.
Oh, absolutely. But we all had to stumble our way through it as well. Zoom was a whole new skill that we had to learn, you know. Yeah. You had businesses that had to get 50 to 100 employees online like that through home, through NBN problems, internet, all that kind of stuff. And we stumbled our way through it. Now everyone's pretty good on Zoom for the most part. So, yeah, just think of video as the same thing, just a skill that you have to learn.
Sure. And I think over this COVID time, we've become a little bit more relaxed and a bit more real as well, which I think I'm seeing now in video, types of video content, even on LinkedIn, which I mean, LinkedIn is obviously a professional platform, but people just having fun. I mean, if we go back to your videos on LinkedIn, and the ones that grabbed my attention were actually when you were teaching people some Zoom tips, but you were having such fun. It's like, here's some things not to do, and you were doing them and giving people permission to laugh with you or laugh at you in a professional network, which is awesome. And I love seeing that sort of content. So and I know we said that was the last question, but I'm just going to really completely just curveball. So what I guess inspired you to kind of bring a bit of humour into LinkedIn in your videos?
Because I guess I wanted to see something different on LinkedIn myself. You know, I'm still very new to LinkedIn. It's still a platform that I don't understand 100%, but, you know, my medium is Instagram. I love it. I'm a visual person. So if I see a video, if I see a beautiful picture, I'm drawn to it. I might not read the caption, but I'm, you know, inclined to see what the visual is at least. And I think, you know, the whole world was having a bit of a laugh about, you know, Zoom, and I would get notifications every day of, like, you know, the woman that went to the bathroom while she was on a family Zoom call and just like totally forgot that she hadn't turned her video off. So I took inspiration from that. You know, you see kids and cats, and it's just like, oh, do you know what? Like, I guess I was waking up every morning and there was just so much Zoom. There was so much doom and gloom in terms of news. And I was just like, all right, cool. Let's just have some fun with this. I know everyone's been on Zoom in the last day. So, yeah, that's kind of why I just said, let's have some fun. But also, you know, I'd be on a Zoom call and it might have 20 or 30 people on it. And it's just like what everyone was doing differently and how distracted I was by that. And, people hiding in the dark, and I'm just like, you're really not serving yourself here, and you don't look like you're really interested. So then from a boss's perspective, what does that look like? And people are just completely unaware of what they were doing, because again, they've just never done it before. So yeah, I just wanted to poke a little bit of fun about that. So,
Well, I loved it. I love seeing
the dancing and reels. I really want to do something about the whole.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, you don't do that if someone's in your store. Please do not fill my feed, my Instagram stories. Everyone's dancing, and I'm just like, great.
Let's do it on LinkedIn. I reckon that's your next challenge. Just do it, and that'll really go off. I reckon it's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I love a bit of humour in my LinkedIn, and because it keeps us engaged. It's all that connection. And I think the big takeaway from this is your overarching message of being of service, like serving, not, and that takes away the ego and all that sort of stuff. So, Jacqui, obviously you're on LinkedIn and people can connect to you there, but I'm assuming Instagram is probably the place that people, if they really want to connect to you, that's where they're going to get the real Jacqui, like the real full experience of Jacqui Maloney.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have split it up now to have my private profile and then have a proper coaching profile, which I'm just going to sort of fill with tips and tricks and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm going to sort of throw it out there so that each week, to help with content creation, I'm going to pick an industry or a profession or a business or whatever, and I'll just brainstorm. And I'm even going to get in there and do some videos based around what I think they could do for their businesses, and just have some fun and dress up and pretend I'm a hairdresser for the day or the week or whatever.
Love it.
Well, yeah, that's what I do as a performer and all that. And that sort of thing. And just to tell people, it's about, telling a story. Like, when they come to you, what are they going to get? And I guess I struggle when I get to different pages and they're all over the place in terms of their content that they're sharing. It's just like, if you can do 5 videos about one thing, it tells a story, people get all the information that they need, they're entertained, they're educated, and it's like, this person knows what they're talking about. So therefore, if I'm planning a wedding, I know that such and such gave me 5 options just for flowers. So instead of going one video about flowers, she's got 5 tips about flowers. And so now I'm all over that. I can either do it myself, but actually I'm going to pay her to do it because it makes sense to go with her now. If she's a wedding planner, that's just... But yeah, I want to make it fun, because video is something that you just need to laugh at yourself about. And we've all done it. I mean, Joe, with your stand-up, you've got to, it's just, if you laugh at yourself, you just take the pressure off yourself a little bit more.
With the stand-up, I mean, it was probably the most scary thing I've done, and it wasn't particularly, I got some laughs, but it's not like I'm hilarious. But I shared a video for people to laugh with me and also inspire them. If I can give it a go, why not you? That was my kind of overarching reason why I shared that video. So feel free to look it up. Look for Joe Saunders stand-up comedy. You might see it again. Who knows?
Why not?
Well, yeah, it's about having fun, really, and growing.
One last thing. My acting teacher has this really great way of dealing with nerves and judgment and all that sort of stuff, and it's his 10-10-10 rule. There's an extra 10 on there in the end. He's just like, how much is this going to affect you in 10 minutes, in 10 hours, in 10 days, in 10 months? And if you think about doing a little story to Instagram, like, really, if you screw it up or if it's not perfect or whatever, how much is it actually going to affect you in 10 months' time down the track? Like, absolutely zip. So just put it out there. Just get it out there. It's, better done than perfect, So, yeah, that's just something that I always try and get my clients to think about. It's like, at the end of the day, actually no one cares. Because they've got their own stuff going on. But if they've learned something from you, that's all that matters.
Awesome. Well, some great tips there. Jacqui, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I've just talked myself out of a job, really. So
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, so we've covered quite a bit there. So, yeah, I think it's the main takeaway really is just get over yourself. Yep. And then, it's, as you said, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% it's all pre-planned. Make sure you're on top of things. And that will definitely help with the nerves and finding your voice. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is all ours. So if you're watching this, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more nuggets about LinkedIn and how you can leverage this amazing professional platform that's also about social media. All right, Joe, anything else?
I think you said it all, but thank you so much, Jacqui. Golden tips, lots of gems in there, and I just hope that you inspire some other people to give with you a go. Because if not now, when? And if not you, who? I can't remember who said that, but someone did. But why not you?
Exactly.
I love it. It's great.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Jacqui.
See you next Tuesday.